Eublepharis macularis. You think you don't know what it is? You totally know what this is. Reptiles are my work, passion, and literally my whole existence. Hi, my name's Sam from Snakes on Sam, and today we're talking all about the leopard gecko. I got a pretty cool question from Angel asking, how do I care for a leopard gecko? Because she's looking to get one. So here is my ultimate leopard gecko guide. I worked so hard on compiling all the information that I feel is needed to get started and to decide whether or not a leopard gecko is the perfect reptile for you. So exciting, right? So let's get started. First thing I always like to ask, is the reptile right for me? So there's a reason leopard geckos are so popular as pets. These goofy geckos are found in Asia, Afghanistan, India, making them some of the cutest desert-dwelling species available. You may be thinking, but Sam, how much do these geckos really cost? Depending on their age and also their genetics, they can be more or less expensive. I would say $50 up is what I usually would expect for a well-bred gecko. If you're looking at one with a normal coloration, those are gonna be way less expensive than something with a crazy morph. Now, something to keep in mind with these geckos is that they're nocturnal. So they're gonna be more active at dusk and onward. Meaning if you're housing them right next to your bed, they may keep you up during the night. During the day, they're probably gonna be on their little snooze cycle. Now, if you're housing them in your bedroom and you're a light sleeper, that may be a total deal breaker for you. If it is, check out this video right here. You might find a better reptile for you. Moving on. In this species, boys get bigger than girls. So boys can get up to 11 inches, girls get up to 8 inches. Keep that in mind when you're shopping for your animal, because a bigger animal equals a bigger enclosure, equals more space wherever you're putting them. These guys are total insectivores. You're not gonna be making any salads for the species. Instead, you're gonna be feeding crickets, worms, and roaches, and you're gonna have to be dusting them with calcium a couple times a week. This ensures your gecko stays strong and healthy and doesn't get any diseases like metabolic bone disease. And just for the record, they're not venomous, they're not poisonous, and they're perfectly safe to own whether you're a kid or an adult. They're awesome. If you're not an experienced reptile owner, no worries, because I consider this species to be a great beginner or starter reptile for anyone of any age. Just like any other reptile, these guys are considered a long-term commitment. They can live 15 years in captivity. I always like to mention this because you don't know what's going to happen in life. But the good thing is that these fit into kind of any new housing scenario you may experience throughout your 15 years of owning them. If you're wondering the personality or handleability of these creatures, they are popular for a reason, and it's because they are so handleable and so freaking cute. The caveat is that they are a little bit more delicate, so you're gonna need to be a little more thoughtful when handling them. On my gizmo rating system, they earn 2 gizmos, meaning they're pretty easy to maintain, they don't take much space, and they're really cool animals to encounter. Since we've gotten to know leopard geckos so well, maybe you're thinking, leopard gecko is not really the experience I want in a reptile. Well, there are some alternatives for you. If you were put off by the fact that leopard geckos are a little delicate, bearded dragons are fantastic alternatives. If you like the idea of a gecko, but you don't like the idea of a desert gecko, crested geckos, which are more tropical of a species, are an awesome alternative as well. Don't forget, my 5 beginner species videos, it has both those reptiles in it, so you can learn more about those. All right, we've made it. You want a leopard gecko, is the reptile for you. So what are the essentials that you need to get started with this awesome species? Here is the list. It's everything you're going to need to make sure your leopard gecko gets started correctly and stays healthy for years to come. The enclosure size is so important for leopard geckos. They need enough room to where they can roam and enjoy and explore, but they also need to be able to feel safe in their environment. Different ages of geckos need different sizes of enclosures. For a hatchling or a baby, I would recommend a 5 to 10 gallon enclosure. For a juvenile leopard gecko, I would recommend a 10 to 15 gallon enclosure. And finally, if you are adopting or getting an older gecko, by the way, go you, I would recommend a 15 to 20 gallon enclosure. One thing you'll notice when looking at reptile specific enclosures is that they're measured a little differently than fish tanks. They're measured in long and tall sizes. So with leopard geckos, because they're terrestrial, you're gonna want a long enclosure rather than a tall. Substrate is so important because there's some places that say put them on sand or things that can give them impaction. You don't want to do that. You're going to set yourself back and maybe have a lot of vet bills. So to avoid that, you need to choose the right substrate. Reptile carpet can be a great substrate to avoid impaction. However, you're going to want to be careful with it because it can hold bacteria. So make sure you're changing it out fairly regularly. You can also use cocoa bark, which is a great reptile bedding. However, it's still not my favorite amongst the three I'm mentioning today. My favorite substrate for leopard geckos is definitely just stone or tile. Literally, you put stone or tile in the enclosure, you wipe it down, you clean it off. It's simple and avoids any risk of impaction. It's gonna make caring for your leopard gecko so much easier. It's gonna mimic their natural environment, and you're gonna avoid those really not so fun vet bills. Next in my ultimate leopard gecko care sheet is the heating. Oh my gosh, it's so important that you heat these guys correctly. Being a desert species, they need a specific amount of heat on one side and a cool end to thermoregulate correctly. For their ideal basking end of their enclosure, you need an 85 to 90 degree Fahrenheit heat. This will ensure their metabolism is working correctly, they're active, they're happy and healthy. For their cool end, they need around 75 to 80 degree Fahrenheit. This is so important so they can cool down correctly and not get too hot, which can be deadly for reptiles. You may be thinking, Sam, these are leopard geckos. They live in the desert. They don't need humidity. They do. They really do. All animals need some level of humidity. Leopard geckos have an ideal humidity range of 20 to 40%. If your leopard gecko is having difficulty with the shedding process, you can always bump the humidity slightly or provide a humid hide. All right, so you have the idea of the humidity, the heat, the enclosure size. Awesome. All the mechanics are there, right? Now, we just need to make sure that you're feeding your gecko correctly. Like I mentioned before, these geckos completely devour insects. But before you feed them, there's some things you can do to up the nutritional value and keep your gecko even healthier. One important step to take before feeding your leopard gecko is to gut load your insects. I personally like to gut load my feeders with a variety of leafy greens, including kale, mustard greens, and dandelion greens. These greens are super nutritious and gives your leopard gecko a bump in vitamins. And please do not forget to dust your insects with calcium with D3 several times a week. I personally use Repashy Calcium Plus. I have for years and I love it. Way down on my ultimate leopard gecko care sheet, you'll notice a section called Common Health Concerns. It's so important to be aware of them so you can make some adjustments to your care to avoid any serious issues later on. Usually with a little tweak to what you're doing and your setup, you can usually avoid any massive problem. That's the super cool thing about reptiles. Just to highlight a few of the most common ones, there's respiratory illnesses, usually due to high humidity. They can also have stuck shed due to low humidity, and even metabolic bone disorder, which I talked about earlier. That's all about that calcium supplementation. And with that, we have made it to the end of the video, and you know basically everything you need to know to get started with your own leopard gecko. With the reptile world and caring for reptiles, there's always new things to learn, and things are kind of always changing too. It's important to stay up to date with care and to kind of stay open-minded to the new things we learn about these animals every day. If you want to keep going on your journey of owning reptiles and learning anything new, please subscribe right here to Snakes on Sam on YouTube. And also remember to download your very own copy of my ultimate leopard gecko care sheet. It's completely free and it will totally help you when you're setting up your leopard gecko enclosure. There's even little check marks to go ahead and make sure you get everything on the list. And as always, thank you for coming to Snakes on Sam and being part of this awesome community. I cannot wait to connect with you guys, and please comment below to let me know any questions you have or any concerns when it comes to your leopard gecko. I'll do my best to help out. Until next time, stay wild and stay curious, my friends.